Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Andrew. Just so you know, I'm filming one intro and using it for all of these questions. So if you've seen the intro before or just want to skip to the philosophical questions and thought exercises, I'm going to timestamp each video so that you can jump around if you so choose. Those will be in the description, and that way you can save 2 minutes of your life for each of these videos you watch. And as always, I just want to say that I respect your beliefs when it comes to religion, and I believe you should be allowed to have those beliefs. I don't lose respect no matter what you believe. You can believe in one God, many gods, all the gods, or no gods, and my respect does not change for you. The only time I have a problem is if someone decides they should dictate how I should live my life because they are better than me, because they believe whatever it is they believe. And so I must believe it too. Now, I will say that I did mean it this way the whole time. However, I may not have articulated this properly. That can mean religious or non-religious people dictating what I have to believe because they believe it. And I have unfortunately experienced both from multiple people. And to those people, I would just say, respect others' beliefs as you wish yours be respected. That's really how we should just go about it. Now, I'm not trying to change your mind with any of these philosophical points and thought experiments. I am just putting them out there into the ether, and you may think about them or not. That's up to you. Totally up to you. I do think that it is always good to try and think about things from other perspectives. And, who knows, maybe 1, 2, or all of these can help people do that if they're open to trying. And these are just things I've been randomly thinking about, some of them for months, some of them for years, some of them for decades. I'm aware some of these are going to be crazy, out there ideas that you're going to immediately, on principle alone, reject. Just wait about the one about heaven and hell. That being said, try to see these from both sides and see if you can make an argument for each. At the end of the day, they're just thought experiments. I'm not trying to trick you with anything or convince you of anything. The way I see it, these are just mental puzzles for our brains. If you choose not to participate in thinking about these, no problem. That's your choice. If you do, the worst you will have done is potentially challenge some of your preconceived notions, and more than likely not, concluded that you were probably right all along in the end. Either way, you exercise your mind, and I believe that is the one part of the body everyone should be exercising daily, and it is also the one part of the body that, unfortunately, a large portion of our population tends to neglect. Okay, so for question number 3, a lot of people claim that their religion is, the one true religion, and they're meant to be that religion. My question is that the case, or is it more likely that you are that religion because of where you were born and what your parents believe in? Now, I will point out that every religion says it's the one true religion, so no matter what religion you have, it's going to be the quote-unquote right one for you. I just want you to really think about this idea. Am I whatever religion you are because it is the one true religion, or am I whatever religion you are because I live in country blank and my parents are blank? For instance, if you were born in Papua New Guinea to Papua New Guinean parents, chances are you're going to be Christian because 95.5% of that population is Christian. You see what I mean by this. So likely if your parents were born there, they're Christian, and if you were born there, you're also Christian. Is that because it's the one true religion, or is that because you were born there and your parents were that? And that's what I want you to think about today. Now, as I've done in the other videos, I'm going to give you a couple seconds. If you want to just think about this for those seconds, you can always pause the video as well and think about it longer, or you can always come back to this video. I will have timestamps in the description in case you want to jump around, go away for a while, come back, etc. So I'll just give you a couple seconds to think, and I will give you my thoughts. Okay, so my thoughts on this. Now, obviously, right from the get-go, I have to point out that obviously this is not true for everyone. And I know people myself that whose parents were one religion and they weren't that religion, whether that means they were atheist or whether they just found a different religion. So there are always exceptions to this, and it doesn't cover everyone, obviously. Although I'm going to give a couple examples here that are extreme examples, like if you're born in, let's say, Canada or the U.S., that geography isn't going to really determine what religion you are. I mean, statistically, I still believe for those countries that Christianity is the majority. However, it's not an extreme amount. It's not like 95% for Papua New Guinea. But that's where the parents come in, because I think a lot of religious people are what their parents are as well, because that's what they were taught. Now, again, lots of exceptions to this. I get that. I'm just talking about the majority, let's say. I also find this question very interesting because I found a lot of religious people have a hard time thinking about this. I don't know why that's the way it is. Maybe someone else can enlighten me to that. They just seem to have a very hard time thinking, this is obviously the right religion, and I'm obviously meant to be this. I'm like, are you sure about that? So I'm going to give you an example of a conversation I've had with someone. I'm not going to use names, obviously, or anything like that, but I'm going to use Christianity because that's the one that they use because they were Christian. But it works for other religions too, and I've had this discussion with people of other religions as well. So they're Christian, and they're meant to be Christian, and I'm like, okay. So if you, as a Christian, and this is what I would ask them. So I asked them, like, if you, as the Christian you are today, have been born in a country where the majority of people in that country, let's say 75%, are Muslim, and your parents are from that country, do you still think you would be Christian? And their answer is, well, of course I would. What are you talking about? Obviously I'd still be Christian. I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. 25, let's say that the other 25% is Christian, sure. There's a chance that you would be that. So let's go more extreme. So if you, as the Christian you are today, were born in Morocco, let's say, to Moroccan parents, do you still think that you would be Christian? And again, they say, well, of course I am. At which point I tell them that 99.6% of Moroccans identify as Muslim and only 0.09%, I will say that again, 0.09% identify as Christian. Statistically speaking, if your parents were born and raised in Morocco and you were born and raised in Morocco, you're almost guaranteed that all of you would be Muslim. And way too many people I asked this and then told them that stat still claim that they would be Christian because they can't take their ego out of it, unfortunately. But in this one conversation, he did have a good point. He would say he thought about it for a second and said, okay. You may be right about that, but just because I was born Muslim doesn't mean I would not find Christianity later, because Christianity is the one true religion, and I would have found it no matter what. Always? Yes, of course they would. Always. And so I created a country. It's called Andrew Land, by the way. I know that's a very creative name for this country. Where a supreme leader and very good-looking man named Andrew, I told you. All right, yeah, I know. You roast me all you want. Let's just move on. But anyway, Andrew is the supreme leader, and Andrew chooses all the information that gets in and out of the country, and only he sees it. Cell phones and telephones only call numbers in Andrewland, and although it's impossible, if you somehow manage to call an outside number, you would be rounded up before you can share any information. There is no internet in Andrewland, and there's also a shield 360 degrees around Andrewland that nothing can pass through, including flyers, signals, paper, people, anything. No one's allowed in or out. It's a totally self-sustained country, and in school... Oh, and the shield, by the way, goes underneath Andrewland, not just over Andrewland. It's not just the dome, it goes 360 around, so no one can dig in or out or anything like that. In school in Andrewland, you're only taught what Andrew wants you to be taught, and the media only reports what Andrew wants them to report. There has never, ever, not once, ever, in the whole time Andrewland has existed, any mention of religion of any sort since the beginning of the country. How are you going to magically learn about Christianity and decide to become Christian in that country? By the way, in Andrewland, if you are caught believing in a religion, not that anyone ever has, you will be disappeared. Now, I know that is an extreme example. A lot of that example, other than the kind of like the shield and the nothing in or out type of thing, is based on things that happen in North Korea. So it is, although it's an super extreme example, some of it is based on reality. The interesting thing to me is that I still have had people, when I've had this conversation with them, tell me that they would, in Andrewland, somehow find a way to be Christian. Again, take your ego out of it. How exactly would that happen? Without changing any lore about Andrewland whatsoever, how would you become Christian in that circumstance, in that example? I know, again, it's the absolute extreme example, but if you take your ego out of it, you have to realize that in that example, you are never going to be Christian because you don't know what Christianity is. Now, some people claim that, well, God would talk to me and tell me all about Christianity anyway, and maybe. How many people does he do that for these days? I know he used to do it a lot more in the past. How many people is he doing that for now? Not so many it seems. But there's still people who claim that they hear God talking to them. So I can't say whether it is God or not. I don't think they can either. But that's just my opinion on it. And I have to say this because a lot of people think that because I'm using that example of Andrewland as an extreme example, it means that I don't think you should be able to choose whatever you want in terms of religion. And that's just not true. I believe you should be free to choose whatever religion you want, and I would never stop that in the real world. This is just an extreme example for people who, come to me and say, oh, well, I would always be Christian. Or I would always be whatever. I do want to point out here, and the point of all of this is really, there's a difference between choosing what religion you think is right and being meant to be that, part of that, being meant to be whatever that religion. So in the Christian example, there's a difference between choosing to be Christian and being meant to be Christian. Okay, so using the Christian example, were you meant to be Christian? Maybe. Excuse me. Like I said, still slightly getting over my whatever I had there for that week. But okay, so were you meant to be Christian? Maybe. but you're really choosing to be Christian. And because you're choosing to be Christian, you're taught that you are meant to be Christian, and that's why you are Christian. But is that actually the case? Or is that just what the religion and the priest teaches you, that religion and priest that would lose all credibility if they said something different to that teaching? I mean, I can use a different example of a different religion. Were you meant to be Jewish? Maybe, but you're really choosing to be Jewish. Again, like the Christian example, you're taught that you're meant to be Jewish, and that's why you are, but is that actually true? Or is it that the religion and the rabbi tells you that that's what you're meant to be, because if they tell you anything else, they lose all credibility, and that's the interesting question here. I could keep going with all the religions, but I don't want to waste that much time, my time or yours. Now, interestingly, I actually think these days geography plays a lot less of a role than it used to, especially because of things like the internet and access to the worldwide information anyway for most countries. I think parents actually play more of a role in even in terms of like, okay, they pushed too hard when the person was younger, and so they move away from that religion. I think that's the role of the parents, just as much or more than because you're meant to be that religion or not that religion or whatever. I'll use my example. So my parents were Presbyterian. Light Presbyterian at best, admittedly, but they taught me about the Bible and the stories in the Bible. But as they were teaching me that, they were also teaching me to think critically and to never take anything at face value, and to challenge things credibility, as well as ask why are they saying what they're saying? What's their real goal? What's their real reason for saying that? That's one of the main reasons why I turned out the way I did in being agnostic, is because of those teachings about critical thinking. Now, again, obviously, no one fits in perfectly. This isn't the case for everyone. This doesn't account for people who were more religious when they were younger and then moved away as atheists and stuff like that. But this is just meant to be something you as a religious person can think about on your own religious beliefs. Is it am I this because I'm meant to be this, or is it just because my parents were this, or is it just because I come from a country where the majority of people are this? Now that shouldn't, in my opinion, that shouldn't take anything away from your religion, by the way. I just think you have to be realistic in why you are what you are. And maybe you can empathize with others from other religions saying the exact same thing, more so when you start to think about this, because they're going to say exactly what you're saying for the same reasons that you're saying it. So there you go. And so I will repeat the question. If you're a person who has said to somebody, well, blank whatever religion is the one true religion, and I'm meant to be that religion, I'm meant to be part of that religion, check your ego and ask, am I sure about that, or is it only because of where I was born and what my parents believed? Just, again, something to think about, Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.